So we'll be talking about how to run MySQL database as a Docker container, how to build a front-end application using Docker, and how to build back-end application using Docker. Our Docker desktop should be installed on your laptop. This is our MySQL. The image what I'm using is MySQL 8.0. It is currently present in the Docker Hub container registry. Run this particular command. Let us say Docker run. I'm saying restart as always. This name can be anything, whatever the name you wanted to give it, right? So those details you can mention it. -v stands for volume. Okay. So here, if you could see, I have given a user and Courtney desktop and MySQL data 8.0. Okay. So it is basically our volume where all the tables or database what we created, right? That will go and reside at 20th May in this particular folder, all the data folder for MySQL database. So it is mapped with variable /lib/MySQL. -p stands for the port. 3306 is the port on my laptop it will be running. This 336 is the port where inside the container this MySQL database will run at. Okay. -d stands for a detached mode. This container is running on a detached mode. Okay. So -e stands for an environment. In order to set the environment variable, we use this variable. Okay. So if you could see what I'm setting is MySQL root password. This MySQL is our image. 8.0 is the version of this particular image. So if you wanted to quickly check it out, right? If you go to Docker Hub, I'll search MySQL. So go to here. This is our MySQL. If I go to tags, right? I'll say 8.0. There are so many versions are available. So what currently I'm using is this one. Okay. This is the, you see, this is our image. Okay. With version. This is what I'm using it. So let us run this out. So if you see, it has run in the detached mode. Okay. If I go to my Docker Hub, so if you could see 5 seconds ago, it was started. Okay. This is our MySQL container. Okay. Running on my laptop. So let us go and log into our terminal. Okay. So if I click on this bit, it will open up a terminal for me. Okay. For those who doesn't know about MySQL commands, so MySQL is a structured query language database. Okay. So a few commands I will run it out. Okay. In order to log into this particular database, you need to type MySQL -u. U stands for a username, root. -p stands for a password. Okay. By default, the super admin user is root. So -p is a password. So it asks me to enter the password. So in my case, I have set it as MySQL @123. That is what I will enter. So now I have logged into MySQL successfully. My authentication is successful. Okay. So in order to see all the database present in this particular MySQL DB, sense of this particular instance of MySQL DB, you need to say show databases. Okay, you would be able to see these many. Okay, so I wanted to create a database for myself for this particular demo. Okay, I'll say create database and database name. So I'll say DB. If I say it has created successfully. If I go and do a show databases, it will show me my database. So in case if you wanted to run few of the commands on this particular database, so in MySQL, what we need to say is use database name. Okay, I will say in this case use DB. So database is changed. Okay, so if I wanted to see the how many tables are present, okay, the command is show tables. If you say that, you would see empty set, meaning there are no data, no tables are present in this particular DB. Okay. This is a prerequisite for us. First, what we will do is create a database. That is what just now we have done it and created a database. Now we will create a backend application. First, I will demo this bit. Okay. And then thereafter, we will go inside of it, how exactly it has been done and all those bits. Okay. If you see the backend, so this backend, it is running on my laptop. Okay. This is the specific code for that particular code. Okay. So here in the src folder, so whatever the database I have created it, right? So for that database, I need to mention my application.properties file. Okay. So this is a Spring Boot application. A front end is a Java. Okay. A Spring Boot microservice. 90% of the Java application will be built on the Spring Boot itself. and the default choice is for all the microservices Spring Boot in case of a Java. Okay, so here if you could see, this is our application. Okay, this is our Java microservice application. It is in order to interact with the database. In my case, database is running on localhost. So if you see here, this is my database, okay, which is running on 3306. Okay, if you see the port, it says HTTP localhost. In order to connect in Java, we need a data source URL. So in JDBC, using JDBC we connect to the database. So this is our database. Which type of database? In this case, it's a MySQL. Localhost 3306 is our port. Localhost is on my laptop. This particular application is running. So DB is our database. Okay, and this is our username and this is our password. When we were creating our application, right? So that is what we have given it. Okay. So this bit, so in case think that you have created a different database, you need to make sure that this particular database, the name has to be mentioned it over here. How exactly you have to run this particular Java application? In Java application, in order to build and deploy our application, we use a build tool or a package manager called as a Maven. Okay? Maven is the one which is used to do build and deployment on a Spring Boot application. There are multiple others, for example, Gradle and all. So in this particular demo, we'll go for a Maven bit. Okay? So now, so if you see here, there is a target folder is present. Few commands, I will run it out. There are pre-built goals are present in our Maven. Okay, for example, Maven clean, what it does is it deletes all the artifacts it was created by a previous command. Okay, what it does is it starts in a clean slate. Okay, so if I do a clean, right? So if you could see here, there is a target folder is present and classes files are present, right? And there are jars are present. Okay, you may ask what is jar and all those things. I will explain it right away. Yeah. So if I say Maven clean, right? So automatically Maven will go and delete this particular target folder. Okay. So let us see that. So if you see, it said deleting this target folder. Now if you see, the target folder is gone. In order to interact with the machines, right? We need to compile the source code so that machine can understand our whatever the code, Java code we have written it. Maven compile. So if you see, there is no target folder is present. Okay. So if I say Maven compile, right? So what it will do is it will compile all the .java files which was present over here, and it will create a target folder. And if you could see here, it will create all this .class file. So if you see here, the same file, whatever the .java was exists, it will compile it and create with the same file name. Only the extension will be .class. In order to run this application, which has to connect to the MySQL container, even ring -boot : run. So what it does is this microservice, Spring Boot microservice is started, okay, on my laptop. So by default, this Spring Boot application framework contains a Tomcat server inbuilt in that one, so which will host this particular application. So our backend application will be built and deployed to the inbuilt Tomcat server. So if you could see here, it mentions it out. Tomcat server has been started on a 8080 port. Okay, so how exactly you can access this particular application? So you go to browser and just say localhost even employees. So if you see, it shows a empty list. Okay, it doesn't have any data now. So if you wanted to sign up to the LinkedIn itself, you need to enter your mail ID and password. And once you click on agree and join, then only the account will be created. In this particular post method, we need to enter a data. If I say first name, last name, and email ID, okay, this is the dummy data I'm giving it. In case of registering to any of the website, these are all the basic details you will pass it on. Here we are passing first name as Sangam, last name as K, email ID as this. Creating a record, that is C for create. Run this particular API, I will just need to do send. Key details has been passed over. So if you could see, 200 is okay, meaning our API request was successful. Okay. So if you could see here, ID is automatically generated. We are not passing it. This is our create API call. So if you wanted to go in database and check it out, we did the show tables earlier. If I do a show tables again, you will see employees tables present. Okay. So if I wanted to enter I wanted to see the data present in this particular tables. So let us say select star from employees. So if you could see, my first name is M, last name K came in picture, and email ID has been whatever I have entered, it has went in. So again, if I wanted to enter again, can the record, okay, then now the API call has been made, okay, and the record it has been pushed in. Select star from employees. You could see my mail ID has been stored in the database. So in this way, the create API has been called in. So the next bit is the read API. So obviously, whatever the data has went in, right? So I wanted to execute a read query. If I say enter, you would be able to see both the record present. Okay. In Postman also, you can do the same thing. Only what you need to remember, you need to pass as a get. Okay, get is to read. If I do send, right, you would be able to see first record and second record. Okay. So think that you wanted to read a second record only. So in that case, you will say employees/2. Only the second record is visible. Okay. In my context part, I am passing another ID of that particular record. That is what we are passing it. In this way, our read operation has been done. Okay. If you wanted to delete it, instead of get, I will say delete. I will delete an employee too. So if I say like this, it will say deleted, it goes true. So in database, if I go and see it, the second record is deleted. Post command. So you can invoke using curl command as well. Above the send button, if you click on here, you would be able to get the curl command here. This is via curl mail ID. Okay, I'll say curl. Okay. The APIs can be accessed majorly via website, curl command, or if you have a proper authentication in the authorization. So if I do enter, so if you see, automatically ID 3 has been generated. If I go and get it, 1 and 3's records are present. Okay. So if I go and see the database, it is both the records are present. Okay. So this is multiple ways of accessing the same application. Okay. So how you do it via front end. So this is a React.js application. Now to start this particular application, I'll say npm start. So if you see, this is our front end application. The two records exist. In our application, the front end is this bit. Okay. The backend is this. If you wanted to add a user, so that is create a record. So click here. You just give it. The new record has been created. You can go to the database and check the record has been created. If you wanted to view it, you are able to read it. So if you wanted to update it, I'll say updated. So it has been updated. You wanted to go and delete it, click on delete here. Got deleted. Okay. All the CRUD API call, we have done it via our front end application. So now we wanted to test the same thing, okay, via Docker. How exactly? Using Docker, we can run this particular application. Till date, so if you could see here, this is our front-end application. Backend is running on my local laptop. If I do Control-C, right, so my backend is gone. Okay. So if I do a refresh, front-end is unable to interact with the backend. So that is the reason we are unable to see the data over here. Okay. Because the middle layer itself has been gone. This itself has gone. Front-end is unable to talk to the backend, right? APIs, right? It is a static site. Nothing will be there, data. We should be hosting our application on our laptop. That is the reason what we do is we containerize it and push it in any container registry, and using Kubernetes, we will try to deploy it in any Kubernetes cluster. Now, what we wanted to do is, rather than running the backend application on my laptop, we wanted to run it on our Docker container. Maven compile, right? So I will say Maven compile. So what it does is it creates a target folder here and creates a classes files, and all the classes will be created in this particular folder. It has been compiled. Okay. .class file has been created. So now I wanted to package it. The command is Maven package. So once you run a package, what it does is it will create a end product of a package is the jar file create. This is the jar file. So building a jar file in this particular target location. This is the jar file that has been created, meaning it has been compressed and zipped into a single file. File extension jar stand for a Java archive. WAR stand for a WAR, web archive. ER stands for an enterprise archive. It should have a Docker file. Using Docker file, we need to build an image. So in this case, I have already created a Docker file. I'll explain about it, what it is. So this is our Docker file in order to build an image. What we have told here is from this particular OpenJDK :20. My backend application, whatever I'm developing, right, that particular image should extend OpenJDK. This is the base file for my application. When we run a Maven package, right, what it does is it compiles it. It creates this jar file. When we are creating a Docker image, right, what we are saying is the code it has been built, make sure that copy the output of our package, Maven package, which is output is this jar file. Copy it to /app and name it as this particular file name. Spring Boot application has to be run. Okay. What is this entry point? Whenever my microservice or this particular container is running state, right, it runs this particular application. The command to build the image is docker build -t stand for a tag 20th May and where exactly the path of my Docker file. In this case, I am in the same working directory. This is where our Docker file exists. So I will say dot in this case. It has done 3 tasks. Okay. First task from Docker container registry, picking this particular OpenJDK. That is the first line. The second line, creation of a work directory. The third bit is copy Spring Boot application, move it to inside the image in this particular path. I will do a grep. You see, here 51 seconds ago, it was been deployed. It contains a 551 MB. What activity I have done is using Docker file, I have created a Docker image. Let me create a new repository. 20th May. Push the image which we have created into this particular repository. So tag, there are no versions exist. The image, you see, it exists with a particular name. The repository, the column it exists is on this particular repository. Whichever the repositories you wanted to push it. Okay. So that repository name should be mentioned here. For that reason, you need to run another command called as a tagging. Tagging is nothing but a aliasing. Spring Boot 20th. So this is my container registry account. This is my repository. And this is the tag I wanted to give. So you wanted to give 1.0. So once you enter it, if I do a Docker image registry, if you could see the old one was with the 20th name. Okay, so if you could see the new one, the tagging is basically the image ID. If you see, you're creating a new image, it will be unique. Okay, so in this case, what we have done here is the image both ID same only, meaning is just done a aliasing it, and the tag, the new tag, we have given it as a 1.0. So now what we will be doing is we need to push this particular image to our Docker hub. Docker push version 1.0. If I say Docker push, right, if you could see 1.0, our version it has been pushed in. Okay, this is the first part of it. In Docker world, we use a concept called as a Docker compose. Okay, a group of similar application. Okay, we can group it under one name and then we can go and build and deploy it. Okay, so for the example sake, okay, so if you search over the internet, right, Docker compose. Okay, so if you here, this is the Docker guys have built in these many applications. So we have created a compose file over here. In order to bring up backend as well as a front-end database, right, together, here we will define which are all the services it is required for us. In this case, backend is MySQL Database. Backend application as a Spring Boot RESTful web services. Kind of application, two things you wanted to run in a single command. What we mentioned is the database required, what all the container name should be there, image where it should refer, what is the environment variable, password and all, right, the database name and all. Backend application, we are referring this backend application will be built using a Docker file. Okay, and this one, this will be running on a port 8080. Okay, it will depends on MySQL DB, meaning before running this bit, MySQL DB will run. Okay, that is the first priority. So this, in order to run this bit, MySQL DB should be up and running. Okay, so these two things we will club in a one Docker compose file. Okay. In our actual the demo case, that also we will be running it, but little bit later point in time. That is probably tomorrow. So I wanted to run this. So you will say docker compose up -t in the location of this compose file. So if I say in one command, enter it. So if you could see, our MySQL DB is up and running. Okay. And on top of that one, as a group, the 2 containers were supposed to run. With the one command, we were able to run this. So if you could see here, this is the compose has done it. One, MySQL DB was installed, and second one is our application has been deployed.